Hello everybody, my name is Anna and I am part of the Youth Services team at Shaker Library. In this video today, I'm going to be sharing some of our suggested and my favorite titles to read if you are in middle school, so follow along. I hope you enjoy and get a few new ideas for what to read next.
Secret number 1. You can learn a lot from a dog you love. Secret 13. Sometimes, when you least expect it, hope wiggles its way into your heart. Secret 18. Trouble is a lot easier to get into than to get out of. And Secret 45. The bad stuff, like the good stuff, just needs to be shared. In Maxie's Secrets, or What You Can Learn from a Dog, there are 51 secrets that Maxie learns from, or that Timony learns from his dog Maxie. At the start of the school year, Timony thinks he has plenty of problems to deal with. He's got a new school, he has to make new friends, and he has this deaf dog he needs to train. Little does he know that his biggest problem will soon be how to get back the friends he lost. How does he do it, and what is Maxie's secret to getting them back? You'll have to read to find out how it works. So when I was in middle school, I think the most adventurous thing I managed one summer was trying to build a raft. Some of my friends and I thought we were smart. We knew what we were doing, so we grabbed some scraps of wood, we grabbed some tubs and some rope, and thought we could do it. We built a raft, that went well, and then about 2 minutes after putting it in the water, if that, we sank. So that is one of the reasons I just could not put down The Season of Six Malone when I started to read it, because the brothers, Caleb and Bobby Jean, had me beat in the first 10 pages when they spend their beginning of their summer trading their baby sister for a box of fireworks. Doesn't end there though. What the brothers thought would just be another boring summer in the woods becomes cool and mysterious when they meet Six Malone, who introduces them to what he calls the escalator trade. Now, the escalator trade is when you take something that's small and you turn it into something bigger, and then it gets bigger again and again. Now, Caleb and Bobby Jean's father tells them just to leave well enough alone, and well, The Season of Six Malone is the story of what happens when they don't leave well enough alone and instead go on a crazy adventure. Alright, so before I tell you about this book, I have one very important question. How are you going to change the world? In this book, called Look Both Ways by Jason Reynolds, we have 10 different students who spend their short walk home from school figuring out everything from life's greatest question, how are you going to change the world, to the best way to pick boogers. In 10 different short stories that focus on 10 different blocks of the walk home from school, we meet 10 different sixth graders and hear all about how they will change the world. I love my father. I do. I love him so much it kills me. But I hate him more than anything in the world. How can anyone feel both and at the same time be in one piece? In this shocking true crime novel called Chasing Forgiveness, we meet Preston, who's just 12 years old when he sees his father kill his mother. That was years ago. Now, Preston's father has been released and he wants back into Preston's life. I mean, can you imagine? How would you feel? What would you do? As you read through Chasing Forgiveness, you'll see how Preston chases the idea of forgiveness and whether or not he can do it. So, have you ever felt like you just don't belong here? There's no way you can fit in, and this is not where you're supposed to be? Well, in Estranged, which is the first in a series, Edmund has been feeling that way for years. After all, he can do things like talk to animals and make fire out of nothing that we just shouldn't be able to do. And as it turns out, he doesn't belong with us in the world above, but he was switched at birth, and instead belongs in what is called the world below. He doesn't want anything to do with it, though, even when the child who he was switched with comes to find him and wants to swap out. In Estranged, we get to see what this world above and world below looks like, and find out if Edmund can avoid the world below and what he needs to do to save that world and our world above. Alright, so as you can probably guess from this title, Tristan Strong punches a hole in the sky, the whole story starts because Tristan gets so angry he just has to punch something. First, though, I want you to imagine what it could be like to be Tristan at the start of this book. His best friend Eddie just died in an accident, and now he's being taken away from his home. He's got all these adults telling him how he should feel and what he should do. I'm sure we've all been there where people have advice about how we should live our lives and we want nothing to do with it. Tristan goes to his grandparents for the summer because all the adults say, it'll make you feel better. And he brings with him the only thing he has left of his friend Eddie, Eddie's journal. One day it goes missing, and Tristan gets so mad as he's looking for it that he just has to punch this tree. Turns out, though, this wasn't just any old tree you might see. It was actually a barrier between our world and another dimension called Mid-Pass. Tristan gets sucked into Mid-Pass, and he meets a few people you may have heard of, John Henry and Brer Rabbit, and a whole host of other folk and mythological creatures. Punching this hole punches a hole in Mid-Pass's sky and wreaks all kinds of havoc, but it's not something John Henry can fix. Not Brer Rabbit. It's up to Tristan to save the day by working with all these folk heroes. If you've ever read and liked series like Percy Jackson or any other mythology, Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky is a book you have to check out. So, how many words do you think there are total in the English language? Turns out there are about 470,000 words. What about the average number of words a sixth grader knows? Turns out most sixth graders know about 50,000 of those nearly 500,000 words. What if I told you there's a town called Ark where instead of hundreds of thousands, there are only 500 words in their language? At least, that is what Letta, the main character in the list, thinks at the start of the book. Turns out, though, one day she gets a letter that says, "You are the wordsmith now. Are you ready for the challenge?" The wordsmith is the only person in this whole town who is allowed to know all the lost words, any word beyond the 500 that everybody else is allowed to speak. But what happens when they just want to keep getting rid of a word here, a word there, until all of a sudden there are less and less words that even Letta is allowed to know? If you want to find out how and why Letta decides to save all of these words, you have to check out the list. If you've ever read The Giver, this is a book for you. How many years do you think it took for a woman of color to be crowned Miss America? Turns out 50 stinking years. The pageant started way back in 1933, and it wasn't until 1983 that Vanessa Williams, a woman of color, was crowned Miss America. In this book, called Like Vanessa, we meet Nessie Martin, who is obsessed with Vanessa Williams. We hear about Vanessa's bedroom, we discovered floor to ceiling and wall to wall in Vanessa Williams posters. But, as much as she might like Miss America, Vanessa Nessie Martin has bigger worries. She keeps receiving these mysterious letters from a woman named Darlene, inviting back, but never getting a reply. Vanessa's mother left the family about 10 years ago, and she's starting to wonder through clues in Darlene's letters if she can find a way to her mother. In the middle of all this, Vanessa's school starts a pageant, and Nessie becomes determined to win the beauty pageant. But can she do it with everything else that she's got going on? And will entering and winning the school beauty pageant bring Nessie any closer to Vanessa Williams or to Nessie's mother? You'll have to read to find out what happens in Like Vanessa. If you're anything like me, you're in love with the musical of Hamilton. You love the costumes, the songs. You could go on and on about the Schuyler sisters and Eliza's romance with Alexander Hamilton. The musical might tell you all about how this orphan became a founding father, but it kind of skips over the details of how Alexander Hamilton, this orphan, falls in love and marries one of the richest, most famous girls in New York. However, that is why we have Alex and Eliza, which gives us all the details of how and why Alex and Eliza fall in love in the middle of a war and go on to shape our government. We even get to hear from some of the original letters that the two wrote back and forth, and why Alexander called Eliza the best of wives and the best of women. It's a romance and historical fiction that you do not want to miss if you love the musical. So, if you like Mean Girls, then Lucy and Lynn is a book for you. It centers around the cabinet, which is that clique we all love to hate, and what happens when Lucy joins the cabinet at their exclusive school, Lorinda Ladies College, after Lucy gets a scholarship. Lucy's own world is worlds away from the preppy elite world of the cabinet and their school, and she sees right through them. But at first, wanting to fit in, she plays along. And we hear all about her adventures with the cabinet and their exclusive and elite behavior through letters Lucy writes to her old friend Lynn. We also hear the back and forth between Lucy and Lynn when Lucy decides she isn't going to play by the cabinet's games anymore, and what happens when she gives the Mean Girls a taste of their own medicine.